Welcome to Catholic Mom Mindset, a daily show where you learn to walk closely with the Holy Spirit so you can live the life God is calling you to. I'm your host, Sterling Jaquith. Let us begin. Our ultimate hope is for heaven. So lately I've been reading The Fulfillment of All Desire by Ralph Martin, and he basically blends the writings of Teresa of Avila, St. Catherine of Siena, St. Bernard of Clairvaux, St. John of the Cross. But he also brings in other people, and so he was talking about Augustine and his conversion. And Augustine was talking about just being a slave to sin and habitual sin and just how difficult it is to let go of things of the world. And I love his story because he just really grappled with being Catholic. He grappled with the truth of it, and he didn't want to give up the worldly things. And so he had this kind of battle between, Catholicism and the world going on in his mind for a very long time. And he, ultimately converted somewhat late in his life. And when I think about the things that I'm stressed about or frustrated about, the things that steal my peace, they are always worldly things. And I'll have a moment where I think, okay, remember, I am not of this world. This world is just a ship. It is not my home, right? Like all the Catholic things. But then part of me is just like, ugh. But I do just really want those things to be better and easier. And I feel that warring inside of me, where I want the number one thing that I long for to be heaven and sainthood. But then the world comes in and there's this tug of war between them. And so when I'm struggling with just normal things that I wish were solved, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to make progress with this kiddo. I'm trying to figure out stuff with my extended family. I'm trying to make plans with my husband for what we're doing with our home. It's so easy to get caught up in the everyday stressors that are in front of us. And they're loud and they feel urgent. And sometimes they're just interesting. We like solving those problems. It's not even necessarily things that are going wrong. Sometimes it's, you're remodeling part of your house, or you're researching buying a minivan because your family is expanding. But our deepest hope, our best hope, is to live a life with Christ in heaven forever. And I want you to know that it is challenging. It is a work. It is a practice to bring heaven into the forefront of your mind every day. But it is a worthy practice, because every time I do that, every time I become like St. Augustine and I have tug of war with things of the world and I lose my peace, if I can meditate on heaven, eternity, spending eternity with Christ and all the angels and the saints, and just remembering, hey, that's what we're fighting for. It doesn't mean that we have apathy of the things that are around us. It doesn't mean we throw up our hands and we say, well, I don't care. I don't need to do any research about the next car that we're going to purchase because I'm made for heaven, right? We want to be active participants in our life, but we want to frame it by keeping heaven at the forefront. Because the only thing that we deserve is death. We deserve death, and we deserve to be in hell because of our sinfulness. And it is only because of Christ's love for us that we have this hope, not a guarantee, my friends, a hope of heaven. So let us remember that. Let us bring it to the forefront. I want you to think right now about the issues that are kind of weighing you down or that your mind is chewing on. And if you knew you were going to go to heaven, how would you think about them differently? If at the moment you knew you weren't going to go to heaven, how would you think about them differently? As I've been reading The Fulfillment of Desire, I'm really enjoying it. The Fulfillment of All Desire, I think. All might be in the title. And I want to share it with my children just like, I want them to experience this. So I've been really thinking about how to do that, particularly for my 11-year-old and my 9-year-old who, if I sit down with a giant, academic theological book, they're probably not going to be very interested in that. And so I've been thinking about how can I share some of this stuff and make it relatable to kids. And I don't think that we should simplify or dumb everything down for children. I mean, I think children like to reach up, but you have to make something interesting enough for them to want to reach up and to do it. So I've been thinking about that. If I solve that for myself, I will share it with all of you. But for me, it's because this book is about ascending in your prayer life so that you can deepen your prayer life and get to that mystical prayer life level, which, most people don't really reach that level. I don't know how many people are even trying. But even the purpose of that is just to be so close with God that we become the saints that we're supposed to be and that we spend eternity in heaven with him. And the more I think about heaven, the better I show up in my life. The calmer, the more peaceful, the more joyful. I put more love into things, and things kind of just drop into perspective. I'm like, oh, that isn't that big of a deal. I can still show up. I can still be a problem solver, but you know what? This isn't a salvation issue. How can I bring more heaven into my day, especially with my family? So our ultimate hope is in heaven. Think about heaven. Think about it. Have hope for it. I think it will help you enjoy your day-to-day life more and see the things that are important. Thank you so much for listening and have a blessed day. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Catholic Mom Mindset. To learn more about growing closer to the Holy Spirit, check out our free resources at madeforgreatness.co. Thank you so much for listening and have a blessed day.